Rob, thanks for being here. And why don't you tell us the story of Lifeline Christian Mission? How did it all begin? And what's the story of the mission?
Yeah. I like to say it a really cute way that Lifeline began in 1980 in Haiti with a man and a lady. And so just imagine a husband and wife take a mission trip. She's a nurse. He's a home builder. They go to the poorest country on our side of the world, Haiti, and she sees children that are dying. 2 out of 5 toddlers would die before the age of 5 because of malnutrition and starvation. So right before her eyes, she sees, emaciated children. And then he's a home builder, and he sees people living these ramshackle homes, if you can even call it a home, of pieces of wood and scrap metal. And so they spent 2 weeks there, and at the end of that 2 weeks, they sort of looked at each other and said, I really feel like God is calling us to care for these people long term. So they took that back. That was actually in 1978. In 1980 is when Lifeline Christian Mission was founded in a little village called Grand Goave in Haiti, in southern Haiti. And from there, the story took off. The way we always start a community is we meet with the pastor. The pastor knows the people. The pastor knows the issues of the community. The pastor knows the dreams of the people. And so we started with the pastor, built a church, built a school. There was a need for a school. Figured out how do we get food down here that won't perish en route. And so we came up with these shelf-stable meals. We'll get into that in a little bit. But also a clinic. People need medical attention, right? So you just see the obvious. Go and see the poor wherever you live, and you'll see some obvious things. You'll see the needs right away. Yeah. I mean, and now, 43 plus years later, we're in 16 communities in Haiti, but throughout Central America, and with a school in Quito, Ecuador, and out in Winslow, Arizona, of all places, right? But there's a diverse population there. There's the Navajo Nation and the Hopi people, and just the diverse people in Winslow, a very depressed economy there as well, lots of homeless. So we try to take care of everyone everywhere, really. That's it in a nutshell.
Very good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of those needs. How does hunger and poverty affect communities across the world? How have you seen that personally, with your own eyes? How do you see that affect communities? Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest ways we know is that hunger affects education. And there's an expression, something like a hungry belly has no ears in Haiti. And what they mean by that is you're so focused on your growling stomach and your need for food that you can't think of anything else. You can't sit in a classroom and learn. And some kids can't even go to school because of it. And so, and the kids in our school get one hot meal a day. And we take care of the rest of the family by sending them home with these meals. So it's tragic when you think about it, right? So hunger and poverty, there's a domino effect because poor people don't have the resources. Poor people have lesser valued homes, if they even have homes, right? Their entire community has less funding to pull from. So they're at a disadvantage from the beginning. So on top of that, if you add lack of food, then you have health issues, right? So they impact the rest of the economy. The neighboring communities are impacted, right? And then let's face it, a lot of us look at the poor like, I don't want to touch them. I don't want to walk in their world. And there's crime. The crime goes up too. So we're afraid, as maybe immature people, we're afraid to go in and take care of them.
So you think about education, and that affects the future of a community and a nation. I'm sure there's a correlation between lack of education and violence and like you said, crime rates and things like that, and it affects the political environment, and it's just like you said, it has that snowball effect
right
on a community. on a nation too. It starts at the community level, but builds from there.
Yeah, when you said the word political, it reminds me that, remember, that a lot of politics revolves around money and power. So if you're poor, nobody cares about you because you can't do anything for them. That's the sad truth, right? And that's why it takes all of us, the regular folk, if you will, to help take care of the poor.
Yeah.
And the Bible speaks to that all through the Bible. Isaiah 58 and I believe it's Proverbs 22. But it all talks about feed the poor. And it even says God will bless your home if you're generous to the poor. Matthew 25 is a scripture in verse 31 and on. But what's the first thing that God says? Feed the hungry, right? And so we have this obligation just as human beings to love other human beings and help them. Forget about depending on the government to do it. This falls on us.
Yeah.
And imagine the reward in heaven, but imagine making God smile. That's an expression I love to use.
I like that. Yeah. So let's talk about the just the practical ways that Lifeline helps meet the needs of the poor around the globe. So what does Lifeline do around the globe? What just every day in and out to eliminate hunger and poverty?
Yeah. So last year, 2022, we sent over 11 million meals around the world. So just picture people being fed. So right there, we're doing what we can to eliminate hunger and really eliminate food insecurity if we can. So if people give the Lifeline, that helps fund meals. But there's a whole lot more that we do. So as I mentioned, when we started in Haiti, we saw that there was a need for schools, right? So we help people live their dreams. It's all about being holistic. We don't go in and tell people what they need. Please tell us through your pastor or right to our face, what is it? What are your dreams? What does your community need so that you can stand on your own 2 feet or collectively and because people everywhere are just like us. We think the poor are somehow dumber than us or whatever. They're just disadvantaged and we just can't relate. No. You would be surprised that they're just like us. They have dreams. They have a voice that they want to hear. They want to be loved, and they want to love you. And so we do it by taking care of people through building schools, building churches. Why churches? And I say this to a world in a country that's falling away from church, right? Because Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. Church gives us hope. Because it's through the church that most of these things are being done, right? And so people all of a sudden feel love. They have hope. They believe in a God that is real, that He does care for them, and that these strangers, these Christians, these followers of Christ, somehow love them enough, have never met them, love them enough to send food and to build schools, build churches, make better homes. I mean, that's fabulous.
So it starts in the local church. You work with the pastors, and you build up that community from the inside. From the bottom up, right? And so we see the meal packing side of things, right? And so you get to see the whole process, the kind of the big picture of it. So take us through that. When I pack a meal, what happens? That meal we know our part. We pack the meal. It's all sealed and it goes in the box and it goes on a pallet. But what happens from there? When it loads up on the truck and you drive off and we're waving to you.
Yeah.
What happens from there?
Well, basically nothing too romantic about this, but we take it back to our warehouse, either Columbus, Ohio, Denver, or Indianapolis. And once we collect 20 pallets, then it will be a 40-foot ocean freight container. And so then it will ship to the highest priority or to whoever those meals were already agreed to. So we have a logistics team that takes care of the shipping. We actually track all of our containers So we know when they are received in customs, make it through customs, and are received to the distribution point. In other words, the people, and then hopefully whoever's on the receiving end, because we may not have Lifeline staff there. It may go to a country that we're connecting with another organization or church, and so we're hoping that they'll take pictures. So I have seen videos, for example, of meals being handed out in Ukraine, other countries, Haiti for sure, all throughout Central America, and it's just, in Somalia. So it's a blessing to see imagine if you were packing a meal, and then we tracked your meals all the way to the time it got into the hands of a Somalian, let's say. And I don't want to shortchange the fact that a lot of meals go into America too. So to those people who are wondering, what about Americans? My goodness, if there's a natural disaster, like the floods in eastern Kentucky or the wildfires out west, hurricanes in Florida, or just immediate needs in your own community like food pantries, homeless shelters, school meal programs. We have several recipes, and we're constantly in touch with those needs too. So it's neat to see the local faces too, but it's neat to see other countries with smiles on their faces.
Yeah. So, when you talk about several recipes, if it's all right, we've got a couple of them here, right?
Sure.
So, I guess I'm just thinking about this now. Let's back up to the beginning of the process. We've got where does all this come from? Who figures all this out? How does that all come about? I'm just kind of thinking, that might be good for people to see or to hear what's decided before we get to the packing part too.
So in 1980, when we knew that we had to come up with some kind of shelf-stable recipes, there were already organizations out there doing what we needed. And so we started with our first recipe, which is the rice and veggies. It has a strong soy base. And just so people know, soy is a bean or a plant. But it's really cool because pound for pound, there's more protein in soy than red meat. That's pretty amazing. So for all the vegetarians or vegans out there, more power to you on that note. But so we didn't invent the particular rice and veggie recipe, but from there we expanded into rice and beans, with pinto beans being the protein. And then we knew for Americans we needed something more for like the school meal programs and even the homeless shelters. And so we did the obvious choice by surveying kids. Mac and cheese, please. Yeah, so we have a great mac and cheese. In fact, it was great before, but last September of 2022, we reformulated it because we wanted it to be as close to Kraft macaroni and cheese as possible. And we've come close, but we're never going to hit that exactly, right? And that's okay. So we have a mac and cheese that is actually kid-approved. I mean, multiple kids tested, and we knew we had something now. So I highly recommend that.
Go to the experts, right?
Go to the experts. The kids, yeah. And then cinnamon oatmeal. So breakfast. That was an easy one.
Yeah, breakfast item too.
Yeah.
And you explained to us earlier, some, for example, some countries don't, I think you said maybe don't approve the import of like soy, things like that. And so different areas around the globe have different needs and different allowances and things like that. And so it makes sense to have those different recipes, of course.
It does. And sometimes we want to ship more than food on a container. So Haiti is usually pretty good about accepting whatever we can send. But certain African countries will only accept a container of one item. So it has to be all food or all medical supplies. So knowing what the policies are of countries and what is acceptable in customs, and even right on down to the expiration labels we put on our bags and boxes, making sure everything is consistent so that a customs officer doesn't find a discrepancy and all of a sudden say, this whole container is trashed or rejected. Yeah. So there's a lot behind the scenes that goes on just to help us, help those.
Yeah. A lot of thought into that process and a lot
of learning.
A lot of learning, yeah. Because I'm assuming the way you talk about it, I'm assuming containers have been rejected before for one reason or other, maybe, or maybe learning from other people's mistakes, or
Yeah, as far as I know, we've never had a container rejected. Okay. Although I will say that we shipped once to Zimbabwe, and unfortunately, on occasion, you will find some corruption. And so the customs official or officials there decided that they needed $10,000 more to release that container. So you can imagine, as a nonprofit organization, all money going out into the field, we had to go back to the churches involved in that packing and say, can you help us raise the money? And we did, and unfortunately we had to pay that.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's negotiation. You can negotiate your way out of it or get it down, but it doesn't happen much. I think people think it happens a lot more than it does, but it really doesn't happen too much, not to us anyhow.
And maybe that's a good thing a question to answer for people, is that, just saying that doesn't happen that often. And it may seem to us, we think as Americans, well, how could you pay a bribe, or how could you do this or that? It's like, well, people need food.
Well, and here's the thing too: if we had it sent back to us, it would cost $10,000,
and
they knew that.
Yeah, right. And so I think it's good to give that answer to people, because there's always going to be those questions of, well, what about Americans? Why would you pay that much money for this?
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, sometimes when you're on mission and you're finding different things being done differently in a different culture, that's the answer, is to work with the system that they've given you. So, just kind of going back to the process of after I pack a meal, right? You gave us a great tour of your facility here. There are locations. Help me out here. There's one in Indianapolis. There's one in Denver. Actually, why don't you tell us? Go ahead and tell us all the locations.
Well, as of this recording, we have 6 locations. Yeah. So Denver, Columbus, Charlotte, Indianapolis, and Lexington and Louisville, Kentucky.
And so all of those facilities are a little bit different.
Yes.
Tell us about your facility, and then maybe tell us about some of the differences in the other facilities and what exactly happens over in the warehouse.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot, but unpack that for us.
Well, what's interesting is that the whole concept of these centers actually came up because in 2020, we had a shutdown. So we have a mobile meal pack team that goes around the country, and every weekend there you can be at multiple churches or businesses around the country. But when 2020 came, we got pulled off the road, obviously. So we decided to start doing smaller meal packs for families, private sessions here in Columbus, for example. And then the concept came up of, what if we opened up centers around the country? And things got better and cleared, and we thought, let's go ahead with this idea, because the mobile team can go out to places, but what about bringing the community in to places that can just pack meals and do good? And the beauty of that is, anybody can come in our doors of any income level or no income level, unchurched, churched, business people, Boy Scouts, you name it, in birthday parties. So the centers become a really neat thing. So, so at the center, that's what we do. We make it more of a community family resource center. But here in Columbus, we're blessed to have a warehouse. And so that's where we can pull from our warehouse here, or from our Indianapolis, which has become the national hub. So we can pull our pallets of rice and pallets of soy and all our ingredients in bags and boxes and get them here to the center so we can keep on packing. So give you an idea. So I mentioned that Lifeline as a whole did over 11 million meals last year. Well, the Columbus Center did 400,000 of those meals. Again, just by people coming in and packing 2 or 3 times a week. We have what we call community meal packs.
Wow.
Yeah, aside from the special events like birthday parties and sales meetings and such.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So, just kind of walk us through, as we're, of course, we've got some footage we'll show of this, but walk us through the warehouse. What do people see when they walk in?
Yes. Oh, so you will see racks, over probably about 18 feet high, of pallets of rice and soy. But beyond meals, because we are beyond meals, you will see medical supplies. You will see school supplies and hygiene kits, which go out to places like Haiti. You'll see jars of peanut butter that we collect, great source of protein. and all kinds of other items that people donate according to what our needs are. It's really interesting with the medical supplies because we do mission trips, and some of those mission trips are medical mission trips. So, for example, we may go in and with eye doctors and make sure everybody has prescription glasses, or any other kind of medical trip. So physicals, whatever ailments you have. And people are welcome to come on any of these trips. You can go on our website and sign up to go on a trip with us. They're not, it's not going out into a jungle. It's not super remote and primitive. We take care of everybody because we know most of you, it's your first time even in a foreign country. And so you won't work too hard, but you'll sweat a little bit. You might help build a home or paint, but you'll definitely visit with people in their homes, pray with people. You'll visit with the children in the clinics. I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity. Yeah. It actually changed my life too.
That's fantastic. And so these are all over the world, right? So what are some of the locations though that people can go?
Can go on mission trips.
Yeah.
With Lifeline. So Haiti, once it gets settled there, we'll do mission trips again. Panama, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Quito, Ecuador, Winslow, Arizona. Those are the primary trips. Yeah.
Very good. And so then, so you have your warehouse, but then you have the center here. Describe for us a little bit of what people see when they walk in. They walk in and they see meal packing stations, of course. But tell us, just kind of take us through the center here.
Yeah, it's really pleasant. We try to make it really earthy, if you will. When you walk in, you'll see a little presentation area. In the center, to your left, you'll see the meal pack stations, but to the right, you'll see what we call our marketplace. And the marketplace is really cool because every purchase made there, all the proceeds go to fund buying those ingredients and the bags and the boxes. But some of those items are what we call fair trade. So it's vendors in Haiti and Honduras and Ecuador, all points around the world that are part of this fair trade organization, if you will, meaning that they're registered and we pay them top dollar for their products because that's their income, that's their career. And then we bring the products here and sell them. It's things like jewelry, mugs. We even help some anti-trafficking organizations with soaps and lotions. So it's just really amazing because it'll open your eyes to what people are doing for a living and how you can play a part in their livelihood.
Yeah. There's a tag out there I noticed earlier. I think it says Survivor Made.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, Survivor Made really is women that have been rescued from trafficking, prostitution and trafficking, or addictions, right? And now they have a job that they can provide for their families, right? Get their lives back on track. So it's a huge blessing. And let me tell you one more thing about the centers. The goal is we are 100% donation supported. So the goal is to educate people so they realize that, first of all, that I wish we had big sponsors, and someday maybe we will. I wish we had big sponsors that could cover the cost of purchasing all these ingredients and actually fund the 400,000 meals a year, for example. And it's great that the community gives because that would just be gravy, and we could do that many more meals. But what's really cool is you can pay it forward. So imagine if we had the funds that came in so we could bring in some local survivor organizations or students that they don't have any money, but they could come in and pack meals and give back. I've heard that from so many organizations. Our people just want to give back. They want to thank people for funding and helping them out of a bad lifestyle. And so imagine if we could just get to that point, and it's coming, people, thanks to you.
Yeah. So you mentioned people, all right. So who are the people? Of course, staff on a nonprofit level is always a challenge, right? You're trying to pay salaries and feed families that work for Lifeline, but you guys have a great volunteer base as well. So tell us about some of the people that you get to work with through Lifeline.
They are fantastic. I love our volunteers. In fact, if you're one of our volunteers who comes on a weekly basis, like you're assisting at some of the meal pack events, we call you a Spark. You're one of our Spark team members.
Nice.
And that comes from our vision statement. So Lifeline Christian Mission has a vision statement that says, we want to spark a life on mission for God, everyone, everywhere. What does that mean? That means there's something inside all of us, whether you're churched or unchurched, whether you know God or not. But there's something inside you that wants to do something good for the world, and that is part of your purpose in this world. So we want to help bring that out of you, help you realize that, and celebrate it, right? So our Spark team members are fantastic. I mean, so at events, they'll help us refill the bins of rice and beans or whatever the ingredients are as they get depleted through the course of the event. They'll make the boxes. They'll help us palletize the boxes. At the end, they'll help clean up the stations and reset for the next meal pack. And then we have our Spark team members that come in during the week, so behind the scenes. You have people that are going to wash those cups and scoops and dirty dishes, if you will. During the week, they're going to help us with the marketplace by tagging new items, new merchandise, but also helping to figure out what's a nice way to display these items. And we even have a cleaning ministry. We have 3 women that come in every Monday night. It's totally what they want to do. They just want to come in and clean the place, sweep the floors and do the bathrooms and all that.
Which we encountered earlier, which was amazing to see one of your volunteers at work. Do you have an estimate of how many volunteers it takes? Do you have a rough estimate, or do you know the number exactly?
Yeah,
or
I don't know the number exactly because I just added 2 more. So, excuse me, we are right around 17 just for this center.
Yeah.
Now we have other volunteers that help out at the warehouse under Dana, who's our hub manager. So we have those volunteers that come in and they'll run the forklift, help unload trucks. They'll help build the pallets, do some of the heavy lifting, or they'll sort peanut butter by expiration date. But sometimes there are volunteers that just come in for community service hours from school. So you have students that come in.
Oh, wow.
Or church youth groups come in all the time and are able to help us. We love volunteers. So if you can imagine supporting an organization like us, and as you said, Paul, our goal is not to put money into ourselves, right? How much money can we get out into the field? Mm-hmm. So the more volunteers we have, the better that is for everybody. And it's rewarding for the volunteers. Yeah. A lot of them are retired, but not all of them. And they just want to do something and have purpose in this world and keep on doing good. So I just admire them so much.
What would you say to those packing meals about the importance of what they do on our end?
Yeah, the impact is amazing. If you just think about 11 million meals, that's 11 million mouths, right? So just think about, I remember when we dedicated a house in Haiti. I was there on a mission trip, and the father was there, and he said in Creole, which was translated, but he said, please tell the Americans that, first of all, we know how much an airplane ticket costs. And he goes, that blows us away that you would sacrifice that much money on our behalf. He goes, but secondly, you're giving up your family time, a week, to you could be using to go to Disney World or whatever, but instead you come down and you do something like this for us, and it's so humbling. So the bottom line is you are impacting lives, you are helping rescue people from poverty, you're giving hope, and you're literally, in some cases, saving lives.
Yeah. So with that, how can people get more involved in doing just that, in eliminating hunger and poverty?
Yeah.
Through Lifeline, but really around the globe in their own communities too. How can they get involved? Yeah,
there are a lot of organizations that help lift people out of poverty. Our mission statement is to mobilize, develop, and empower people. So if you can find those organizations through Lifeline, for example, it simply just comes down to, and we hate to talk about money, but that is what we need to buy the things that change people's lives and to build schools, right? I wish it was all free. That'd be great. Yeah. But it's your funding. So to get more involved is just, I would say, number one, go see the poor and watch what God will do. The love will pour through you, and He'll help lead you to exactly the resources that will be the most rewarding to you.
Absolutely.
And don't forget your local church.
Yes.
My goodness. Yeah. That's our main supporters. But the local church knows the needs of the people.
Yeah, very good. And so, why don't you, if you would, just share with us, so website, Facebook, just some ways that people can get in contact with Lifeline and see about those mission trips you mentioned earlier.
Right. Yeah, it's all on our. We have a really good website. It's lifeline.org. If you want to see what's going on at the Columbus Center, look at our Facebook page, simply Lifeline Columbus Center. And we spell center R-E instead of E-R. That's just some little fancy kick that our president thought he liked when he saw it in the UK. So anyway, or if you're in Denver or any other city, just look it up, Lifeline City Center, and go and pack some meals.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Rob. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the information. Thanks for the tour.
Oh, thank you. It's great.
All right. Well, God bless you, and thanks for what you do with Lifeline.
Likewise. Thanks for your support.